What's up, guys? It's Toad back with you. Better Off Dead. Friday, May 9th. Last night, 1-2. Win versus loss came down to the final game last night after we won pretty easily on the under first 5 inning in the Reds Braves, which I think that game wound up going over the total full game. So good. It makes you feel good when you handicap the first 5 innings right, and the rest of the game goes in the opposite direction. It's like, yeah, I played the first 5 innings for that specific reason. That was a 1-0 game into the 5th inning, and it did wind up being 2-1 at the end of 5, but it still went under the 4. That was a win. Then we did lose on the other baseball play. The LA Dodgers, they just could not get it done. Yamamoto giving up 4 runs. Just very surprising to me. The Dodgers came back in the game late, but couldn't quite do it. That was just the way that it was. You did expect that the Dodgers would have the bullpen edge in that game as well, but the starting pitching edge that they should have had just didn't happen in the game. And then Vegas Knights, they played a decent game. It was a close game. They had the lead early. They lost the lead. They were down 2. They tied it back up. They played well. It went into overtime. So then it comes down to a crapshoot, basically. But you never like being on like the slight favorite or any sort of favorite, really, that goes into overtime, because it means you didn't really get the value on that number. And then losing is just brutal on that one because you paid a little bit extra for it. So that sucks. It was 1-2. Let's move on to today. NBA. I'm going to jump right in and play this first game, man. I'm going to lay the points with the Cleveland Cavs, -2.5. You do have to look at the injury situation, which I didn't even look at. So actually, let me look at that real quick. I don't think it's going to change the way I'm handicapping this, but as people who have been following the series know, Garland has been injured. He is questionable tonight. He's got a toe injury. He's missed 4 games in a row. If he can go, I think he's going to go at this point, man. I mean, you're down 0-2. You have nothing left to lose at this point other than the series. Of course, you got to get your man Garland back in there. And then Mobley has also been hurt. So let me see what his situation is here, just to get that information out of the way. He's also questionable with an ankle injury. And I think he's only missed 1 game, Mobley. So I think he missed the last game. So I think if at least one of those guys are back, I think Cleveland is in decent shape here, to be honest. Cleveland is still the better team. I understand they're down 0-2. They lost 2 games at home, just like my Celtics. So it's a very, very dire situation for these teams, especially for Cleveland. As Indiana is actually now like -200 on the series price to win the series, which is crazy. They have flipped the series price big time. The Celtics are actually still favored to win theirs at like -120. I don't think it's going to happen, man. Cleveland, I'm not saying they're going to win the series here, but you got a team that's down 0-2, and they are the better team, even though, yes, I understand they're going on the road. It's a short road trip, though. I mean, their fans are probably going to travel a bit. You're still talking about the team that has the better defense, and if they get these pieces back, I know I talk about reverse injured player theory and whatever. So, if Garland finally comes back, it's going to throw a wrench into their lineup or whatever. Yeah, but it's not like they're going to when they're down 0-2, I think the reverse injured player theory gets thrown out the window, man, because it's not like you're going to get complacent because one of your best players comes back. No, you're down 0-2. You got to fucking win the game. So we're going to lay the 2.5 with Cleveland here. I apologize. I was not sharing my screen yet. Cleveland has gone up from a pick 'em to 3.5 now. And I think that line move is indicating that it seems like probably Garland is going to be out there in this game. I don't see why the line would move that significantly otherwise. They do have 69% of tickets. Public seems to slightly be on Cleveland. I don't think I even buy that, though. I mean, after what we've seen in the first 2 games, the public always reacts to what they saw last for the most part. So I don't know if that's really the case there. But yeah, I like Cleveland in this one, man. And 81% of the cash coming in on Cleveland. So I will roll with Cleveland in this game. I think down 0-2, they're going to put in their best game. Even if they don't win the series, I think they will get this particular game as the better team with the better defense still, and just completely up against it. And you're really not asking them to win by that much. So it's almost like a pick the winner. If you wanted to go money line on Cleveland, I would not tell you not to do that either, obviously, but it's starting to get up there in price a little bit. I think you'd probably lay about 3 with Cleveland right now. Sorry about the 2.5, because it was 2.5 at some books like a half an hour ago, but maybe that number is gone. Then the total is also plummeted, which kind of is also seemingly indicating that maybe Cleveland is going to be able to slow this game down a little bit more with the fact that the total has gone down a little bit because Indiana wants to play fast. Cleveland wants to play a little bit less fast and play defense. Thunder Nuggets, I mean, we saw a complete turnaround for the Thunder in game 2. Thunder are obviously the better team in the series, man, which is why I have some hesitation here because normally I would want to look at the Nuggets. Like Cleveland, by the way, also the better team in that series. Cleveland was up by 20 points in game 2 and wound up losing that game. And they also had an outlier shooting percentage. Just making sure that I finished the handicap on Cleveland here. Cleveland shot like 20-something% from three-point range, which I know I said the Celtics aren't going to do that again, but they did. Teams usually do not have multiple games in a row like that where they shoot that poorly. So I expect maybe a little bit of regression out of the Pacers side as they shot quite well. Cleveland shot particularly horribly. So there's got to be some like regression to the mean there. And again, Cleveland had a massive lead in that game. They led the whole game and then collapsed late as the Pacers somehow overcame like a 7-point deficit in the final 30 seconds or something like that. And they've done it twice, I think, in the playoffs, I think this year, if I'm not mistaken, or at least twice this year at some point where I think it had only happened like one other time recently in the NBA. And the Pacers have done it twice, which is crazy. Thunder Nuggets. Yes. All right. Thunder up from 5 to 5.5 with juice here. 59% of tickets, 77% of cash. The money's coming in on the Thunder. And they are indeed the better team. As even in game 1, they had a big lead in the game and they blew the lead. They blew a double-digit lead in game 1. I played them in game 2, of course, which I also played Cleveland and didn't get that one. But I did play the Thunder in their game 2, and they had an enormous blowout victory. They had, I think, a record point total in the first half with like 89 points in the first half, something like that. And they might have taken their foot off the gas, and they still won by like 43 points in the game. So an easy win, easy blowout win there. So now, yeah, the zigzag would dictate that, yeah, we're going to Denver now, switching locations here as Cavs Pacers are going to Indianapolis, if I didn't explicitly say that. Thunder Nuggets are going to Denver with the series tied 1-1 now after the Thunder, again, blew that lead in game 1. Yeah, the zigzag would dictate that the Nuggets would be the team that makes the adjustments here. I mean, you're a team with a lot of pedigree. If you're the Denver Nuggets, you're still a pretty solid team, and you just got embarrassed. So you're going to want to show up in this game. But will that be enough? I don't know, because the Thunder have had just huge leads in both games. So I don't really know that that's going to be enough for the Nuggets. And I'm worried about what we see in the market here, as it looks like the money is kind of moving the number on the Thunder. So I am a little bit worried about playing the Nuggets there. I would lean to taking the points with the Nuggets. I don't think I can quite get there with that one. So I'm going to stay away, but those are my feelings on that. And we have a really high total in this one, down a little bit to 232.5, juice to the under. Some money coming in on the under. Man, that is a high total. And I know high totals are high for a reason, but even so, I think that if the defense is going to show up, like the Nuggets are going to have to show up and play better defense, man, as they gave up so many points in the first game that I would not really want to be on an over in a situation like that. So that's what we're looking at there. Let's go over to the NHL, where I am actually going to play both games here, as Florida's down 0-2 coming back home. And you know what I've said in the NBA, I think it applies to the NHL as well. Teams down 0-2 coming back home that are actually the better team, which Florida is, as I have Florida winning the Stanley Cup final in my bracket. They might actually be the best team in the NHL, to be honest. I think they're better than Toronto. Yes, they lost both games in Toronto. Both games are fairly close. I don't think Toronto's actually the better team. Toronto does have a history of underperforming in the playoffs, and I seriously doubt that Toronto is going to win this game, to be honest, having to travel all the way down to Florida. I think it does give Florida a pretty significant edge in this game. Toronto, again, they're a very good offensive team, but Florida, balanced team. They're good on all sides, basically, and they are the better defensive team and goaltending team, which I know didn't work out in the first 2 games. I'm lost on game 1. But I like Florida here to bounce back. Yes, they're a huge price up from -203 to -218. As the odds makers are telling you, Florida is enough the better team that they're a huge, huge favorite on home, and they were a favorite on the road as well. So we're going to cut this number down a little bit. And what we're going to do is play Florida to win in regulation at -140. You can find that on DraftKings. You find the 60-minute line or the three-way line where you can bet either team to win the game, or you can bet on a draw, which means that it goes into overtime. So, of course, betting this, taking it down to the regulation means that if it goes into overtime, you do lose the bet. So we need Florida to win this game in regulation. I think they will do it. I think they'll get it done. I mean, they're a big favorite here. I expect them to show up with a lot of intensity in this game, down 0-2 at home. They're the returning champs. They got the history. They got the pedigree. They've done this before, man. I think it was 2 years ago, right, when they made the Stanley Cup Finals and lost, when they beat my Boston Bruins, who were the President's Trophy winners that year. Florida was down in that series, I think 3-1, and they came back and won. So Florida is not a stranger to making serious comebacks like this and playing in high pressure situations like this. So we're going to play Florida, take the, get the price down, play them in regulation around -140. That's going to be the play. Dallas, Winnipeg. I'm going to zigzag this one as well, and I am going to play Winnipeg. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Winnipeg -122. They're up for -115 and -120. You might be able to find 120. I don't know. I saw 122 was the best number I saw this morning. 65% of tickets, 87% of the cash coming in on Winnipeg. Even though I bet Dallas in game one, I did tell you that I think Dallas is the better of these two teams, as Dallas was actually lined as the favorite in game one to open, but the line actually moved towards Winnipeg. So I think the actual money actually came in against me in that first game. So I think I was not on the same side as a lot of the professionals in that game, but I liked Dallas to win that one. I thought the line was a little bit sketchy looking, but now the line is basically now where it closed in game one. So Dallas had flipped from like a -120 favorite in game one. It went all the way to like Winnipeg being about -115. So this line is about the same. But with Winnipeg down 0-1 at home, I think we're going to see the added intensity out of Winnipeg here. Winnipeg does still have the better like defense and goaltending, even though like Dallas is the better scoring team. Dallas, I think, has gotten some of their injured players back as well. So Dallas is definitely a good team. They're definitely a complete team. The odds makers are telling you that Dallas is actually probably still the better team, as Winnipeg is basically just getting home ice on this price. But Winnipeg is a very good home team. As I pointed out last time, that was my one hesitation with playing Dallas really in the first game. I played Dallas because the line looked like it was way too inviting to take the Jets, who are the President's Trophy winners, the best record in the NHL. But of course, as I keep saying, the President's Trophy winner like basically never wins the Stanley Cup Finals. We don't need the Jets to win even this series, obviously, though. We're just playing them to win this one game. They are 37-4 at home. So that's 30 wins, 7 losses, and 4 overtime losses, not 37 wins. But still, yes, Dallas has a pretty good road record as well. But Jets, I think, have the best home record in hockey. So they are definitely a tough fade on the road. And I think I kind of got lucky in the first game because it was a 3-2 Dallas win. Yeah, and Dallas was up 3-1. They only trailed at the very beginning of the game, and that was it. But if you look at the game statistically, some of this was, because Winnipeg was losing, but Winnipeg outshot them. They out-hit them by almost double. Face-off percentage was pretty close. The possession, I think, was pretty close. So Winnipeg actually, in a lot of ways, outplayed Dallas in that game. So I'm going to go with Winnipeg here, man. I think it was a little bit of a misleading result there. I think the spot dictates the play on Winnipeg here, and that's what we're going to do. Winnipeg on the money line. That one, of course, is a full game, so we can win if they win in overtime. We'll still win that one. All right, MLB. Let's get through it, man. We got Atlanta at Pittsburgh, and this is a Friday, man. So there are a lot of situations coming into this where my first reaction was, well, I think we want to fade Atlanta here, right? Because Atlanta just had a nice walk-off win in extra innings. They had to go to 11 innings yesterday to beat the Reds. Now they're traveling to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was off yesterday, so Pittsburgh has more rest here. Pittsburgh, they are returning home from a road trip. It was only a short road trip, a one series, 3-game road trip to St. Louis. And yeah, Pittsburgh has lost 6-7 games in a row, whatever that is. So they are on a bad losing streak. So if you want Pittsburgh, you are fading that sentiment there. I would probably slightly lean to Pittsburgh, though, because of the situation, because they didn't play yesterday. It's usually a good idea to fade teams coming off a tough extra inning game like Atlanta just had. Bryce Elder is on the mound, so that's also not necessarily a bad idea to fade this guy. He's one of the lesser Braves starters, probably their worst starter. 1.38 whip is terrible. 5.06 ERA is not good, but if you look at his numbers against Pittsburgh, he has actually done fairly well against them, as their offense is pretty terrible. And 23 at-bats, 217 average, 584 OPS. So I'm not jumping out of my seat to go in and fade Elder when he has numbers like that against Pittsburgh. And if you want Pittsburgh, you're having to play on Bailey Falter, who is not the greatest. 1.21 whip indicates his 5.06 ERA should probably be a little bit lower than it is, but I hesitate to back this guy. He's got okay numbers, basically. Not like a huge strikeout pitcher. He's not really putting a ton of guys on base, so he hasn't been that bad. And against Atlanta, his numbers are not as good, however, though. 71 at bats, 296 average, allowed 840 OPS. So I would say that based on the matchup stats, Elder actually has the better matchup numbers in that one. So I worry about that. I worry about playing on the Pittsburgh side a little bit for that reason. So situationally, I would give it to Pittsburgh. Starting pitching matchup, though, I think Elder actually might have the slight edge there, which is kind of crazy to think about, but I'm passing on that. Detroit is in a very bad spot. If you see this, they've been on a long, long road trip that took them to Houston, then out to the Pacific Coast, to Anaheim for 4 games, then 4 games in Colorado. So they played 11 games on the road, and they were in elevation. They won the last 4. They had 1 game postponed, so that means they had to play a doubleheader yesterday, and they won the doubleheader by a combined score of 21-3 against the worst team in baseball, though, the Colorado Rockies. So now they're returning home, and I think Detroit, yeah, they have a really good record. They're pretty good, but I think right now, like, you're looking at a spot where Detroit, like, I think you're going to be paying way too much of a price for Detroit. I think they're kind of at the market peak here after what they've been doing, and they're in a bad spot, of course, returning home with no time off after having played 2 games yesterday. That is a very difficult spot. Texas did also play yesterday, but they played 1 game against Boston. Didn't have a good game. My Red Sox beat them. I don't think there was a whole lot of bullpen usage in that one. So situationally, it's a terrible situation for Detroit. So I would look to fade Detroit. Problem is, I come and I look at the starting pitching matchup, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Tarek Skubal is pitching for Detroit. So that might be the bailout that they need as far as like Detroit being in a horrific situation, but they got their best pitcher on the mound who's a Cy Young contender. So I'm really not looking to fade Skubal. However, even though he is an excellent pitcher up against Texas, his numbers are actually bad in his career. In 61 at bats, a 344 average, allowed a 951 OPS. So if you wanted to fade Skubal, and this might be the spot to do it because Detroit is in a terrible spot. Skubal does not have good numbers, specifically against the Rangers, although, again, this year he's been excellent. 2.21 ERA, 0.98 whip, obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball. And it does mean you're having to play on Patrick Corbin, who does have a 3.28 ERA, but I make fun of this guy all the time, man. He's still a really, really bad pitcher. 1.5 whip, terrible whip, 1.5 guys on base and inning. That indicates that he's really, really getting away with it right now. And he's, even though he's not allowing that many runs, he's basically just on thin ice the whole time, somehow escaping. But against Detroit, he actually does have good numbers in his career in 61 at bats, 17-1 strikeout walk ratio. Actually, no, excuse me. He doesn't have good numbers. What am I saying? A 295 average, 847 OPS, excuse me. I don't know what I was thinking because I was looking at the 17-1. I'm like, man, that's good. But his numbers are actually bad overall. So I'm not really jumping out of my seat to come play Patrick Corbin either. Based on the situation, if you wanted to just try to take a shot on Texas, you can play them on the run line plus 1.5 runs to get them to lose by 1 run at worst. Get them to come within 1 run, basically, and you're probably paying about minus 102 for that or something like that. If you wanted to do that, that would probably be the way that I would lean in this game, but I'm not going to do it. An over might make sense as well, just because kind of a sneaky over where Skubal has bad numbers against Texas. Both teams have bad numbers against both starting pitchers have bad numbers against the opposing lineups. But with Detroit having played a doubleheader, I think you're going to see some tired bats in that Detroit lineup. Detroit's a huge favorite, down from minus 260 to minus 250. 87% of tickets, only 86% of the cash. They are still very public. Public's probably like laying Detroit run line, and like I don't know what they're doing out there, but again, if I was going to do it because of the situation, I would grab Texas on the run line. St. Louis and Washington, I think neither team played yesterday to start. Teams are starting a new series here as well. In this one, Washington staying at home after losing to Cleveland. St. Louis going out on the road. No, I was going to say continuing a road trip. No, they're going out on the road, but they do have momentum as they just won 2 games against the Mets and then 3 against the Pirates. So St. Louis is on a nice little win streak there. Those win streaks usually do carry out on the road. They got Eric Fetty on the mound. Not pitching particularly well. 1.46 whip, 4.78 ERA. None of that is good. Against Washington, he has been quite good, though, in 30 at-bats, 133 average, allowed 295 OPS. So Fetty has definitely had Washington's number there. So I think he does have the better of the starting pitching matchup slightly, but Mitchell Parker's been pitching okay this year for Washington, 3.48 ERA, 1.21 whip, and up against St. Louis, his numbers are actually good as well. In 21 at-bats, 143 average, allowed 325 OPS. So even though I think Fetty might be not quite as bad as his numbers look right now, the only way that I would look to play this game is an under, but I would probably go to the first 5 innings under because there's no way you can trust Washington's bullpen. I don't know that you could really trust either bullpen. Although the bullpens are rested. So, I mean, if you're ever going to play an under in a full game for Washington, it might be a game like this where at least the bullpens are rested. So at least they can use their best relievers if they want to. So under would be the way I would lean in general in that game. Probably first 5 is still better than full game, but that's the way that I lean in that game. Both starting pitchers actually match up pretty well. You got 86% of tickets, 88% of the cash on the over, but total drops slightly from 9 juice to the under to 8.5. We got Milwaukee, Tampa Bay is Quintana against Littell. Tampa Bay, I mean, they're coming off getting swept by Philadelphia, staying at home here, but they played yesterday into an extra inning game. So Tampa Bay, they used a lot of their relief pitchers yesterday in a tough extra inning game. So I'm not really I'm not running to the window here, metaphorically, at least to play Tampa Bay here. I mean, I'm kind of looking to fade them in a spot like this. Milwaukee didn't play yesterday, so Milwaukee does have the situational edge as far as the rest is concerned. They just lost to Houston pretty ugly, 9-1. So I think just getting out of there, going on the road might actually just help them forget about that. Like, let's just go play baseball, forget about that last loss. So Milwaukee is the better rested team here. They got Quintana on the mound, who is pitching pretty well for them this year. He's a veteran, man. He's a smart pitcher, and he's still pitching pretty well, despite, not really having velocity or anything like that. 1.22 whip, 2.83 ERA. Not bad numbers at all, really, especially for a guy of his age. Against Tampa, though, his numbers are not very good. So I was like, I might play Milwaukee here, but then looking at his numbers against Tampa, I don't think I can, even though Tampa's bats aren't very good. In 24 at-bats, he's allowed a 375 average and 833 OPS to them. So I don't think I can do that. And then you got Zach Littell on the mound for Tampa. Starting to struggle a little bit, although his 1.1 whip indicates that his 4.61 ERA should actually probably be better than it actually is. He's got a pretty decent 25-8 strikeout walk ratio. He doesn't really walk a lot of guys. He's just been giving up some runs here. But overall, his numbers really aren't that bad. And up against Milwaukee, Milwaukee only has 8 at-bats against him lifetime, 250 average, 775 OPS. So there's not a lot of history there, so they haven't really seen a whole lot of him. So I'm not going to do anything with the game. I'm going to stay away. I mean, you got a starting pitcher who I don't like his matchup numbers. I just can't quite do it. It does look like Milwaukee's public, too, is 60% of tickets, only 58% of the cash. Tampa down from -110 to -105. By the way, I should say that when you're looking at the market early in the day for baseball, it's a little bit dangerous to draw conclusions, even though I do point out what's going on in the market here, and I do try to read something into it. But a lot of times, sometimes what you see early on, especially with how the money line has moved, a lot of times the money line having moved is actually like a fake move because the limits haven't been expanded yet. So the books aren't letting you bet up to the max limit yet, right? The books are trying to gather information and stuff, so they're only willing to take smaller bets right now. So what you'll see is a lot of professionals, especially in baseball, will come in because they can manipulate the lines more in baseball because the public's not really heavily playing baseball. The professional bettors will come in and actually play the side they don't want for the small limit amounts to try to get that number to move in that direction. Then they'll come in with their bigger bets once the limits are expanded and they can play full limits. They'll actually place their big bet on the other side. So a lot of times you'll see market manipulation there and a setup there. So sometimes you can't quite draw the conclusions from that, but still I think there is something that you could draw from some of these numbers, but you will see some of these markets change throughout the day. So it's a little bit dangerous. Chicago Cubs at New York Mets. I am on this game and I'm playing the under 8 -115. I know the public is never going to come in and play an under in a game like this where you have two teams that are known to have really good offenses. I mean, the Cubs have the best offense in baseball. The Mets offense also can do a lot of damage, but we have two rested bullpens here, and I know the Cubs bullpen is their weakness. It's not a good bullpen. The Mets bullpen is good, though, and you got rested bullpens, so the Cubs will have their best arms available if they want to use them here. We do see market agreement with me, at least right now, down from 8 to 8 juice to the under. 60% of tickets coming in on the over, because the public is only going to come in on an over again in a game like this, especially when you don't have any named pitchers involved here either. So the public is really going to say, oh, both these teams can hit. I don't know who these pitchers are, so we're going to go over the total, right? But I go the other way in a situation like this, and it does look like the actual money, the cash, we got 55% of it on the under right now. And again, obviously, I'm agreeing with that. You can find it with a slight juice right now at minus 115, as I'm pointing out here. Both teams rested yesterday, so I think that's good. I think it means the bats could come out a little bit cold. It means the bullpens can use like basically whichever arms they want. And then the starting pitching matchup, I think, is actually pretty sneaky for an under here. Jameson Taillon just kind of silently having a pretty good season so far for the Cubs. 1.03 whip, very good whip. 3.86 ERA, not bad either. 31-8 strikeout walk ratio, well below 1 hit allowed per inning. Pitching well, man. He's doing well. And up against, who are we playing? Up against the Mets, even though the Mets have a good offense. 74 at bats. Taillon has a 20-1 strikeout walk ratio against them, a 162 average and a 484 OPS. So you usually don't see numbers like that in the sample size. It's that big, just dominant strikeout walk ratio, really low average and OPS there. So Taillon does do really well. We're going to tie one on in this one, man. And then Clay Holmes on the other side for the Mets. I don't fully trust him because, I mean, he's a guy in his 30s who has kind of entered the starting rotation after being a reliever for a while, though he was pretty successful as a relief pitcher. But I don't fully trust him just because guys of his age, they don't usually come out and just all of a sudden dominate as a starter or anything like that. And he's not dominating, but he is doing well. Although his 1.28 whip is a little bit concerning to me. That's a little bit high, indicative that his 2.95 ERA should probably be a bit higher than it really is right now. But overall, he has been fairly good. He's averaging more than 1 strikeout per inning, fewer than one hit per inning, which is very good. The walk number a little bit too high with 13, but he is definitely pitching successfully this year, man. And against the Cubs, even though their offense is good and is the number 1 offense in baseball, he's got 40 at-bats career against them, 10-1 strikeout walk ratio, 200 average allowed, 595 OPS. So both starting pitchers here have a decent sample size. They both have ridiculous strikeout walk ratios against the opposing lineups here and very low average and OPS allowed there. So that's going to be an under in that game, man. If you're worried about the Chicago Cubs bullpen, you could also go under in the first 5. I don't hate that either, but that's where we're going there. Philadelphia, Cleveland. Philadelphia played yesterday in that extra inning game against Tampa, so they are not well rested either. Whereas Cleveland did not play yesterday, so Cleveland does have a little bit of a rest edge here. Aaron Nola is pitching for Philadelphia, and he has had a very bad start to the season, but he has pitched well in his last 2 outings, only allowing 1 run across 13 innings at the Chicago Cubs and against the Diamondbacks. So he faced 2 good offenses and still pitched well. So he's starting to turn it around, which I thought that he would. I mean, his career numbers indicate that he's not going to continue pitching this bad. 4.61 ERA, 1.32 whip. His numbers are starting to get better. But up against, who are we playing? Cleveland here. Up against Cleveland, his numbers actually aren't great in 21 at-bats. 333 average and 1,083 OPS allowed. So Nola doesn't have the great matchup numbers here, whereas Gavin Williams for Cleveland, he has not really been getting it done at all. 1.75 whip is enormous. 5.06 ERA is actually probably lower than it should be. That whip is unbelievable. You can't put 1 3/4 men on base an inning and get away with it like that, man. So Williams has somehow been limiting the damage, but he's just walking way too many guys. His walk numbers are terrible. He's striking out a lot of guys, but he's also allowing more than 1 hit per inning. So it's a very weird combination. Like usually when you see a guy striking out a lot of guys, he doesn't allow a lot of hits, although he might walk a lot of guys. But Williams is actually doing both. He's doing all 3, which is very weird. High strikeouts, high hits allowed, and high walk rate. It's all very, very strange. But up against Philadelphia, he's actually done pretty well in a 20 at-bat sample size, kind of small, but spread out across basically their whole lineup. 200 average allowed, 633 OPS. So Gavin Williams as bad as he has been, he actually does have decent numbers against this specific lineup. So maybe them having seen him at some point now might help them a little bit against Williams, but he did do well against the other time he saw him. The money is coming in on Philadelphia for minus 115 and minus 120, 84% of tickets, 98% of the cash. I don't really agree with that one. Philadelphia, again, they played it to extra innings yesterday. Their bullpen's not very trustworthy. And even though Nola should be turning it around, I actually think in this specific matchup, it doesn't have as much of an edge. Red Sox and Kansas City. Red Sox play. Both teams played yesterday. Excuse me. Kansas City swept the White Sox, I believe, with a blowout win yesterday. Red Sox beat Texas yesterday. Red Sox having to travel, but usually when you travel and you start a road trip, it is a focus spot. So it may very well be a focus spot for the Red Sox. I don't think either team used a lot of their relief pitchers yesterday, I should say. Hunter Dobbins pitching for the Red Sox. This is his debut season, and he started to struggle a little bit in his last game against the Twins after he had two pretty good starts to open the season. A little bit bad last time out, not horrible, allowing 4 runs in 5 2/3, too many hits allowed, 2.2 strikeout walk ratio is not great, but he's got 13-4 overall, 3.78 ERA, but 1.32 whip, a little bit high, indicates that maybe he's not going to be quite as good as he was in those first 2 games. Of course, he does have a little bit of an edge here as far as the fact that Kansas City has never faced him before, and Kansas City does not have a very good offense. So Dobbins might have a little bit of an edge against these hitters early on because they're not great hitters and they haven't seen him before. And he's got at least okay stuff. I think Lorenzen is a bit of a question mark. 4.23 ERA, 1.41 whips. His whip is way too high right now. He was better than this last year, but right now he's giving up too many hits, just putting too many men on base, man, walking too many guys as well. So his whip is actually bad enough that it probably indicates his ERA should be a little bit higher than that, although I do think he's not quite as bad as those numbers look. And against the Red Sox, he has done fairly well, although he's only faced 4 of them before and 13 at-bats, 154 average, allowed 404 OPS. So Lorenzen, in that very small amount of history, has done well against the subset of Red Sox hitters that he has faced before. The money looks like it is coming in a little bit on the Red Sox side, 55% of tickets, 69% of the cash. And again, they are in a good spot, starting a road trip after a win, but line down a little bit from minus 115 to minus 112. It is kind of crazy, though, to see an unknown like rookie pitcher be a road favorite like this for the Red Sox. So that is what the odds makers are telling you. Well, the Red Sox certainly do have the better bats over the Royals, so there is that, but we'll see what happens. Let's get to some more of my plays, man, because I think I have 5 of them. We've only hit 1 so far. Next one up, I'm going to play Miami on the money line. I know this is a crazy price. The books are finally starting to come around to showing Max Meyer some respect, but at minus 145, I think it is still worth a look to play Miami, even though they are on the road. I mean, they're playing Chicago, who's a terrible team. Of course, the White Sox, not the Cubs. The White Sox played yesterday, so they did have to use some of their relief pitchers yesterday, whereas Miami was off. So Miami does have a rest advantage here because they did not play yesterday. They got blasted. So both teams coming off ugly losses to good teams. Miami got hammered by the Dodgers yesterday. Kansas City got obliterated by who did they play? I don't even remember. Who did Kansas City even play yesterday? Or no, Kansas City won. What am I saying? Kansas City, oh no, we're talking about the White Sox. Yeah, the White Sox got obliterated by Kansas City, excuse me. Although Kansas City's not actually a good team. Miami got obliterated by the Dodgers, who are a good team. I'm all messed up right now. I apologize. But Miami, after having a bad game at home like that, losing 10-1, one of the best things for you is to have a little bit of rest. Just go out on the road. Forget about that loss. Forget about losing that series. Go out and focus on baseball and play baseball, man. So that's what I think is going to happen here. The White Sox, they're actually on the road, even though it was only for that one series, on the road just to Kansas City. So not really a long road trip return, so not as much of a concern. Although when I talk about the road trips, I'm talking about how it's usually a distraction when teams return from a road trip. They have to return to family life and whatever. But I like Max Meyer here, man, against Bryce Wilson. Max Meyer, his whip is concerning, 1.36, 3.92 ERA, but he's shown glimpses of being a very, very good pitcher. Very high strikeout rate this year. He's just walking too many guys right now, man. Got to get that under control a bit. He's had a couple of bad starts in a row. Again, one was concerning because it was at Seattle, which is a very pitcher-friendly park, but I'm not going to take as much away from that. And against the White Sox, they've never seen, I don't know, one of them, Matt Thais. I don't know, how do you pronounce his name? Thais? I have no idea. Thais. he's the only guy that's ever seen him before, and he's 0 for 1 with a walk off of Meyer. So I think Meyer basically has the advantage here, having never been seen before. So this White Sox lineup might struggle against him. Meanwhile, Bryce Wilson, he's an opener, so he's really only going to go like a few innings at most in this game, and his numbers suck. 5.56 ERA, 1.9 whip. None of that is good at all. Even though he's only going out there and throwing a couple innings, he's still not pitching successfully. And against the Marlins, a 9 at-bats, where a 222 average is pretty low, but an 856 OPS, because Fortes is 2 for 3 with a home run off, or Fortes. 2 for 3 with a home run off. Not much you can take away from that, but I do think this is a situational edge for Miami having the rest. And I think it's a huge pitching mismatch between Meyer and Wilson, which then we're going to have to go to the Cubs bullpen, who already had to pitch yesterday. Not a whole lot, but they still did have to get used a little bit yesterday. So I like Miami in that game. And the money was coming in on Miami last I saw, up from minus 135 to minus 143, 91% of tickets, 94% of the cash coming in on them. Let's try to get this done quick, man. Cincinnati and Houston, I'm going to run through these quick. Houston, I'm going to play on the run line to knock the price down, because you're paying about minus 170 for the money line if you want to. So we'll knock it down, play a minus 1 run line on DraftKings. So that way, at least if they win by 1, you'll just push the bet instead of losing, where you lose if it's minus 1.5. Like I keep saying, it's a little bit less less risky to do it this way. And playing the minus 1.5 at home is a little bit more dangerous, because the team doesn't get that 9th inning to bat if they're already winning. But I think this is a big mismatch for Houston, man. Cincinnati went to extra innings yesterday, used a bunch of their relief pitchers yesterday, while Houston did not even play. So it's a big edge for Houston, in my opinion. Even though Houston is returning home for a road trip that took them to the White Sox and Milwaukee, I still think this is the right spot to play Houston here with a little bit of rest, or Cincinnati had to play yesterday in the pitching matchup. Nick Martinez up against Houston. I mean, his numbers against Houston, they're okay. 71 at bats. They have seen him a bunch. 239 average, 684 OPS. Normally, it's not going to have me fading that guy, but I'm fading him because Hunter Brown is overall the much better pitcher. He's turning into a dominant force. 1.67 ERA, 0.88 whip. Just ridiculous. Well, fewer than 1 hit allowed per inning. Only 1 home run allowed this season. More than 1 strikeout per inning. I mean, this is domination time for Hunter Brown. He's really turning into a very, very good pitcher. And he's still, I think, very much under the radar as well. People just still don't know who he is. 18 at bats against the Reds, 167 average and 377 OPS. So even though Martinez has decent numbers against Houston, Hunter Brown's numbers are way better. So I think we got the edge for Houston in the situation. The bullpen rest edge. Houston has a better bullpen anyway as well. Offenses, I think, are kind of a wash. Maybe Cincinnati has the better offense, but starting pitching-wise, I think we have to give the edge to Brown. And Nick Martinez overall, 4.19 ERA, 1.24 whip, or whatever that was. So Houston is the way we're going to go in that one. San Francisco, Minnesota, I don't know what to do with this. It looks like some of the money was coming in on San Francisco. I don't really know about that. Minnesota's on a nice win streak. They just beat Boston a couple of times. They swept Baltimore. They won 5 games in a row. San Francisco just won a series against the Cubs, so they're probably feeling pretty good about themselves too. So it looks like a little bit of a letdown spot for San Francisco. So I don't really love the idea of playing San Francisco here. Jordan Hicks, 6.03 ERA, 1.45 whip. I don't know what you want to do with any of that. Very, very difficult to handicap this. This is Giants and Minnesota. I'm going to have to cut this video a little bit short, man, I think. And against Minnesota, he has held him to 200 average and 533 OPS, though, in 5 at-bats. So Hicks really hasn't been seen that much by them. Chris Paddock, on the other hand, bad numbers as well. 5.57 ERA, 1.48 whip, although after that really bad start against the White Sox of all teams to start the season, he's not allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start. So he's been like consistently mediocre since then, at least. So there is more consistency from Paddock, whereas Hicks is like a complete wild card all over the place. Against the Giants, though, Paddock has not been good. In 48 at-bats, he allowed 4 home runs. Yaz, Carly Yastrzemski's kid here, Mike Yastrzemski, is 7 for 15 off him with 3 doubles, 2 home runs, and 2 walks. And Wilmer Flores, 6 for 12 with 2 home runs. So if you want to look at player props, hits plus runs plus RBIs on Yaz and Flores to wreck Paddock, because they've done it in the past. Overall, he has a 333 average, allowed him 1,060. OPS allowed to the Giants. So whatever you want to take away from that, Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you want to take away from it, but whatever you want to take away from it, those are the numbers. So I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna finish this tonight, man. I'll give you the last. I have two more plays, which are the under 7.5 and a little bit of juice in Toronto, Seattle. So if you want to play that now before the line gets a little bit too low, you can do that. Of course, 7 is a key number in baseball, man, because it's the number that you need to break the tie. And I'm gonna go over this huge total in Yankees A is over 10.5. I will explain my reasoning tonight. That's going to do it for me. I'll come back and I'll talk about the rest of these baseball games tonight. Tower Gang Tone on Twitter, patreon.com/Tower Gang. Go see us at Bro Grove, baby. That's going to do it for now. Peace out.